After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC. And he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions, and after learning those tips I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest.
Welcome to Shasikara's astrological series. As usual, for the past 6 to 7 years, I am posting a number of videos in my YouTube channel, and which are free for most of them. And apart from that, earlier to that, I did post some scribed articles in the scribed website, and which I came to know that people are getting charged for downloading my articles. Recently, I started a website www.karraastrology.com. I'll repeat again www.karraastrology. Karra Astrology is all one word. Karraastrology.com is my new website, and most of the information pertaining to me, whether it is in the articles in the WordPress or in Scribd or the recent YouTube presentations that had been posted in my channel, all of those are available in my website. And apart from that, I started a new paid consultation, and the payments will be when I tell my what is my fees. The payment should be paid either to an orphanage in India. I will provide the address for that payment details, or to the homeless center here in New Jersey. So for those who are residing in India, they will be paying to an orphanage in Hyderabad, and for those who are residing outside India, they have to pay to a homeless center here in New Jersey. So if you are interested to get paid consultation, please visit my website and click the contact me button, and then provide all the information over there. To the extent possible, I will be responding at the most within 3 to 5 business days. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that you will like my presentations, and this is some presentation which I'm going to post it within as soon as I can.
In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the sudden wealth increase for one of the famous businessmen, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. Let me first introduce. I'm sure most of you have know who Jeff Bezos is and what is Amazon and everything. So Jeff Bezos, in the year 2020, while we had the COVID-19 and the whole world is struggling with the pandemic, Amazon is one of the few companies, big corporations uh, that could gain that could turn into a profit margin company by due to the impact of the pandemic COVID-19. So if you look at all those things, here in BBC, it was they told in BBC that I forgot what was the date, but they found out that Jeff Bezos became the richest person in the world at the end by 2020, December 2020. And then according to the NPR website, it is the National Public Radio website in United States. According to their website, here in the net worth as of 2020, you can see that Jeff Bezos' net worth has increased from $100 billion to $182 billion. Approximately, it is almost like 80% increase in his wealth. This happened in the year 2020, the whole year 2020. So in this presentation, from an astrological perspective, what could be the reason for a person to accumulate such huge amount of wealth in such a short period? Remember, when I say short period, it's just one calendar year, 12 months. So in such a short period, what's the from astrological perspective, which planets had provided this particular native the luxury to almost double his net worth in the society? So first and foremost, as usual, what I do is look at the Rashi chart, the D1 chart or the Rashi chart, and then from a high level perspective, what do I see? Here, what you can see is Jeff Bezos' birth chart, the date of birth, the time of birth, everything I got it from Astro Data Bank, which I rely a lot on, and I do have trust that whatever the information they provide is correct. So first and the foremost art I want to tell you here is that this particular native has Kala Sarpa Yoga. There are a number of people who think that Kala Sarpa Yoga is a bad. They do call it as a dosha. There are some astrologers, commercial or non-commercial astrologers, who do term this as a Kala Sarpa dosha, and do recommend a lot of other remedies for it. From my perspective, this is a Kala Sarpa Yoga, and the planetary positions that one gets it at the time of birth cannot be changed. So I do not believe in any of these remedies, especially when it comes to Kala Sarpa Yoga. It's not a dosha anymore. You have an example here to show that Kala Sarpa, when you see in Kala Sarpa chart, it's not bad at all. Here the Kala Sarpa has started in the 4th house. Rahu is in 4th house and Ketu is in the 10th house. First and the foremost, what you have to see is when Kala Sarpa is related with the 10th house, 4th and the 10th houses, one thing is sure to happen, at least based upon my experience. The reason is I have a Kala Sarpa Yoga, but for me Rahu is in the 10th house and Ketu is in the 4th house. Jeff Bezos, I was born in the same year 1964, so that's the reason why the Rahu Ketu were there, and it was just like 6 months after I was born. So it's a 6-month period difference. But almost all the planets are in between Rahu and Ketu only, even for me too. So what I notice from my career perspective is that when you have a Kala Sarpa Yoga with Rahu either in the 4th house or in the 10th house, the career will be very, very dynamic. It's an unstable career. The native reaches to the highest point in his or her career, and then once the yoga, based upon the yoga and other impacts, slowly the native comes down all the way to the lowest state possible in the career, and again goes up. It's like for science students, it is very easy to understand. It is like a sine wave. In mathematics, you can see that sine wave going up and down, and with respect to the x-axis. Just sometimes it will be the above x-axis, and all of a sudden it reaches the x-axis and then goes down the x-axis and then again comes up. When people have Kala Sarpa Yoga, especially with Rahu in the 10th house or in the 4th house, this is sure to happen. There's nothing wrong in it. This is part of life. The second thing I want to that I saw here is Sun, Mercury and Moon. The 3 important planets are in the 10th house. So 10th house is career. So you got 3 planets in 10th house. First of all, Sun is treated as a malefic planet. So that tells you that even though he's in the 10th, first of all, Sun being in the 10th house itself tells you that the native will be in a leadership role or have a command over a huge number of people working under his or her directions. So that can be a manager or a leader. One of those things is sure to happen. And then it co-join with the seventh house, and seventh house Lord Mercury. Fourth house is home life environment, and seventh house you can treat it as a businesses. So Sun is the sixth house Lord, co-join with the seventh house Lord Mercury. This is very important. Here we have to see Sun is the sixth house Lord. Sixth house deals with employment conditions. It has co-joined with the seventh house Lord. Seventh house deals with business, and they both are residing in the 10th house. 10th house is career. That tells you that the native will be starting a business, because it's Mercury. It has to deal something with communications or trading or finance department or something like that. And of course even Mercury also okay, so something dealing with the trading, financing, banking or communications. That sort of a business is what this native is sure to do it, and he will this particular native will become a leader in that sector of the business, in that business industry. And then since the 10th house is Jupiter, owned by Jupiter deals with academics and research or educational institutions too. So whatever the business the native will be willing to do and will be successful, will have a direct relationship with education, educational institutions, research institutions, academics like universities, all those things. And Jupiter, the 10th house Lord, is also the first house Lord. And if you look at it, Jupiter is in the first house, its own house. So when the 10th house Lord and the first house Lord is a benefic planet, especially it is a Jupiter, and Jupiter is residing in his own house, that is the strongest chart. One can clearly tell there is no malefic. If you consider Sun as a non-malefic, there's no malefic planet in the 10th house. The 10th house and the first house Lord is a benefic, and the 10th and first house Lord, the benefic planet Jupiter, is also residing in its own house. Up to that point, that's it. And then next is Rahu. Like I said earlier, Rahu's direct aspect is on the 10th house, so the career will be completely unpredictable. You can just take it off. Don't need to do any further analysis. The simple word is the native's career will be completely unpredictable. Next is there are two major flaws in this particular native's chart, and that might be another reason why you see some ups and downs in the native's career, his personal life. Okay, so the first flaw is Saturn is the 11th house Lord. 11th house is financial gains or financial losses, and Saturn is the Lord of it. So Saturn being a natural malefic, the chances are there will be fluctuations in financial gains or financial losses, and that might be the reason why that can happen when Rahu is creating unpredictable career situations, having an impact on the employment conditions, because Rahu is having a direct aspect on Sun too, right? And that's the reason when such things happens, there will be fluctuations in the financial sector, part of the native's life. And another thing what you have to see is the 9th house Lord. The 9th house Lord is Mars, and the 2nd house Lord is also Mars. Dhanasthanadipati is Mars, and the Dharmasthanadipati and Bhagyasthanadipati is also Mars. And if you look at it, that particular guy, Mars, is co-joined in the financial gains Labhasthanamo, 11th house, and also it also co-joined with the 11th house Lord Saturn. So when the natives Bhagyasthanamo and Dhanasthanamo will be so much directly related to the financial gains, and all these things will, of course there are some ups and downs in this particular native's career and life too, but 99.9% of the time it will be up all the time, at least until, I should say it is until the end of Rahu Mahadasa, as per the Vimsotari Mahadasa. And now comes the two flaws that I saw in this particular native's chart. The very first important flaw that I saw here is Venus position. Venus is the 8th house lord and the 3rd house lord. Fortunately, Venus does not own any of the crucial houses when it comes to life or career or finances or anything like that, but it is in a Rasi Sandhi. So if Venus is, even though Venus, you see it in the 12th house, because of Rasi Sandhi, it's just only 1 degree inclination, we can conclude, at least I would say that Venus will be, I will be considering Venus to be in the 11th house only, not in the 12th house. So that means Saturn has co-joined with the 3rd and the 8th house lord Venus, which has a little bit of negative part of it, which I don't want to, which is out of the topic for this particular presentation. So I'm not going to talk anything more than that. And then another thing is Saturn's 3rd aspect is on the 1st house where Jupiter is residing. So the financial gains, anything that Saturn has to give, is directly related to the 10th Jupiter, and Jupiter is the 10th house lord and the 1st house lord. That's the reason why the native was very successful in his career, and the success is being portrayed in the form of financial gains. And the last thing I want to talk here about is the moon, position of moon. Moon is also considered to be in a part of a Rasi Sandhi because it is 4 degrees. Usually up to 5 degrees I consider it as a Rasi Sandhi. It is close to 5 degrees, 4 degrees and or 49 minutes. That means it's exactly 5 degrees. So with that inclination, I just ignored and I considered moon to be still in the 10th house, having a direct aspect on Rahu. And when Rahu is having a direct aspect on moon, the mind, generally there will be some unique thoughts, ideas, I shouldn't say thoughts, ideas will come up, and those ideas will be against the social norms or something the society has never saw it or heard it. Amazon, when Jeff Bezos started the Amazon website and the idea of selling the books online, that was something that nobody has ever thought about it, at least during that time, during that era in 80s and 90s. So Rahu having a direct aspect on the moon is another reason why the native had that particular idea during that period. Just because the planetary positions reveal that there is a possibility for Raja Yoga or any sort of a yogas doesn't mean that the native is sure to have it. That is something that I want to prove it over here. So this tells you that from this particular chart, even though the native has so many Raja Yogas, the most important stuff that happened is only during the Rahu Mahadasa. I'm very precise here. Whatever the success that Jeff Bezos had it in his career is only after 2011, and the business, all those websites can tell you that his Amazon website, Amazon business has grew exponentially after 2011. So that is after Rahu Mahadasa, and as I said earlier, Rahu is the cause. This is first thing very important is Rahu is the cause for his success because he had the Kala Sarpa Yoga. Keep in mind the Kala Sarpa Yoga people with Rahu Mahadasa is the one that's when things goes positive. Of course there are certain other exceptions there, but for this particular native it went positive, and when the Mercury Antardasa came in, then the net gain worth for this particular native has exponentially increased because it's Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antardasa. Mercury is the 4th and the 7th house lord co-joined with the 6th house lord in the 10th house, and Rahu is residing in the house owned by Mercury, and Rahu is having a direct aspect on Mercury too. So the mutual aspect between Mercury and Rahu in the 7th house is business. So and in the business, when the business planet 7th house lord is a benefic and residing in the 10th house, there's a high possibility for that particular native to have a career in the form of a business, means a business magnet, depending upon the other planetary positions too. And then if you look at it, the most important thing that you have to see here is the Mercury Antardasa started, Pratyantardasa started in 2019 June, and by Venus Pratyantardasa started in 2019 December. So exactly that's the time. Rahu Mahadasa, Mercury Antardasa and Venus Pratyantardasa is the time when the stuff started to get initiated, and I don't think that until 2020 May there was so much of inertia for the NATO to accumulate the work. It's all from May 2020 when the Sun Pratyantardasa started. The inertia, the push for fast accumulation of wealth started with the Sun Pratyantardasa, because Sun is the 6th house lord residing in the 10th house, co-joined with the 7th house lord, having a direct aspect with the Rahu, whose Mahadasa is going, co-joined with Mercury, whose Antardasa is going, and Sun and Mercury is the 7th house lord, and Sun is the 6th house lord. So these are all the things that had kicked off, and fortunately during that time transit Rahu is also sitting there. That's another important thing we have to tell. I have to say here is exactly during when Sun Pratyantardasa started in May 2020, transit Rahu is co-joined with natal Rahu too, and it's a Rahu Mahadasa going on. So Rahu became extremely strong here, and both natal and transit Rahu residing in the house owned by Mercury, having a direct aspect on Mercury in the 10th house, and Mercury being a 7th house lord, you can say nobody can stop that that's push, the power of that strength that these planets had given for the native to accumulate the wealth. And Moon has maybe stabilized a little bit. Mars might have, because Mars is the Dhanasthanadipati and Kutum and Bhagyasthanadipati. He had worked thoroughly for it, and by 2020 November, Rahu's Pratyantardasa started and nobody could stop there. That's when the release of his, what all the stuff that happened during the Pratyantardasa of Venus, Sun, Moon and Mars, Rahu sat down, revealed it, saying that what are the good things that he could do for a native. And now this is going to be all the way till April. The beauty of this is in April 2021, Jupiter Pratyantardasa will start, and after that Saturn Pratyantardasa will start. Jupiter will be co-joined with natal Saturn and natal Mars. Mars is the Dhanasthanadipati and Bhagyasthanadipati. Saturn is the Labhasthanadipati. So Jupiter is the 10th house lord and the 1st house lord residing in the 1st house. So when such a benefic planet is going to start, is going to co-join with the Labhasthanadipati, Bhagyasthanadipati and Dhanasthanadipatis, nothing can be. The ability for the native to accumulate the wealth will be at a supersonic speed. That's a simple English I can say. And that will be all the way till August, and then probably somewhere in August when Saturn Pratyantardasa starts, and Saturn will be whatever the accumulate the supersonic speed, whatever the money, the wealth got accumulated at that high speed, Saturn will consolidate it and make sure that the net worth is stabilized. The financial gains that the native has got during the period from April till August, Saturn will start stabilizing it. That means enough to move forward. Let's sit down and figure it out, how much I got it and what is the net worth for this particular native. So basically the planetary positions, the transit of the natal planetary positions and the transit planetary positions are all extremely well for this particular native. So but since the Vimsottari Dasa is cooperating, whatever the positive side that this natal and transit planets are supposed to give, the Vimsottari Dasa, the COP is cooperating, and the Mahadasa of the Vimsottari Dasa and the Antardasa of the Vimsottari Dasa is making sure that whatever the native is supposed to get it is going to get it. After going through the Vimsottari Dasa analysis, what I would be doing as usual is to look at the Bihurug Chakra Paddhati, and then for that particular period, what exactly has happened and what is the reason for that to happen too. So if you go and look at the Bihurug Chakra Paddhati, first thing what we need to do is to look at what is the during this period, that means from January 2020 till January 2021, in that 1 year, who is the cycle ruler, which house is that cycle ruler going to activate. Now we will start it here, and you can see here Mars is the cycle ruler. Stop there. Mars is the cycle ruler. Mars is the second house lord and the ninth house lord. Second house is Dhanasthanadipati, and what is the ninth house is Bhagyasthanamo. So that's what you are going to see. Dhanasthanadipati and Bhagyasthanadipati is the one which is activating the cycle. And then comes the house. Oh my gosh. It is activating the ninth house. So from Rashi Lagna, it is activating the ninth house, which is a Bhagyasthanamo. The Bhagyasthanadipati is activating the Bhagyasthanamo, his own house. And where is Mars residing? Residing in the Labhasthanamo, co-joined with the Labhasthanadipati. And the Labhasthanadipati is Saturn. So transit Saturn is also there. So it is natal Mars has co-joined with the transit Saturn and the natal Saturn, where Saturn is the Labhasthanadipati. So both the Saturns are in Labhasthanamo in their own house, and Mars, the Bhagyasthanadipati and Dhanasthanadipati, has activated the Bhagyasthanamo during that period. So you don't need to say the reason why the NATO has accumulated so much wealth in starting January 2020. There's no more questions to ask. The next thing is, that's one way. And Mars also activates the ninth house from its natal position. So if you go and look at the ninth house from its natal position, which it is the seventh house from Rashi Lagna, owned by Mercury. Seventh house deals with business. So for a businessman, it's the seventh house that tells what is going to happen for that particular businessman's business, whether it is going to survive or collapse. This is what you see it in the seventh house. And then when you see here, when it activated the ninth house from its natal position, which is the seventh house, Mercury, we already know that Mercury Antardasa is running. So it has activated the house whose Antardasa is running. Mercury's Antardasa is running, and it activated the seventh house that's owned by Mercury again. That's so naturally you can say there's nothing. It's a success is the only solution for this particular NATO at this time. And the next thing is, remember I said earlier that when we are doing this Bihurgu Chakra Paddhati, I also look at the third one, that is who is the Mahadasa, and from there Mahadasa's natal position, I go and look at the ninth house. So here from Rahu, the ninth house is 12th house Venus, there is Aquarius, 12th which is owned by Saturn again. And fortunately, I should say that Venus, I take out Venus from there and put it in 11th house. So Venus, the 12th house is empty for this particular NATO, because Venus is in Rasi Sandhi, is just 1 degree. So I pushed it backwards. So Rahu activating the 12th house from Rashi Lagna is another reason that can say it as the NATO might have incurred unexpected expenditures, and it is Rahu. When I say unexpected expenditures, it's a little bit challenging, and when it is Rahu, it is more challenging to tell exactly what those unexpected expenditures could be and what could be the reason for the NATO to incur those unexpected expenditures. Overall, from the Bihurug Chakra Paddhati perspective, the cycle ruler activating the ninth house from Rashi Lagna and the ninth house from its natal position is quite enough to justify why the NATO's net worth had exponentially increased in the year 2020. Thank you for watching my video. Let me conclude this presentation. If you look at the natal chart, the role of Rahu and the role of Mercury is very important here. Since the native has a number of Raja Yogas, that doesn't mean that the native will become rich or accumulate more wealth. For that to happen, it's the Vimsottari Dasa, Mahadasa of the planets, Mahadasa, and the Antardasa planet. Those two are very important. Here for this particular native, if you look at it, the Rahu Mahadasa has started, but nothing, it just went normally. But when the Mercury Antardasa started, which is somewhere in 2019 June July, that's when the native started earning. Native's earning increased exponentially, and accumulation of wealth also started during the Mercury Antardasa. The reason is being Mercury being in the 10th house and from destiny, and Mercury is also having the direct aspect on its own house where Rahu is residing. Natal Rahu and transit Rahu were there when Mercury Antardasa started. So there are a lot of other parameters that one has to look at it before validating whether a Raja Yoga is possible. If it is possible, during which Vimsottari Dasa, based on the Vimsottari Dasa, when is it possible? Here you can see that because of the possibility of increase in wealth, the native has accumulated. NATO's wealth net worth is increased by 82 billion US dollars. This is for the year 2020, means ending in December 2020. Since the Mercury Antardasa is all the way till January 2022, what I'm concluding here in this presentation is that just like the way he accumulated $82 billion net worth, his net worth has increased by $82 billion in the year 2020. Similarly, his net worth will be increasing somewhere approximately plus or minus the same number. That means another 50 to $1,800 billion. His net worth will be increasing by the end of December 2021. But that's when Mercury Antardasa will end. To be more precise, what I can predict is that when Jupiter Pratyantardasa starts in April 2021, this is February 2021, so in another 1 or 2 months, Jupiter Pratyantardasa will start. That's when the accumulation of wealth, whatever the process is to get the wealth accumulated for this particular native will start. Jupiter is the one. He is the 10th house lord and the first house lord, residing in the first house. And even in 2021, I think all the way till June or July of 2021, transit Jupiter will be in the second house, co-joined with the second house lord Saturn. So the initiation process for this particular native to accumulate the wealth again in 2021 will be starting as soon as the Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa begins, and then that will keep going all the way till November of 2021. That is transit Jupiter's. But the Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa ends in August, and then the Saturn's Pratyantara Dasa starts somewhere from end of August and goes all the way till end of December 2021. So this Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa and Saturn Pratyantara Dasa, these two are the planets that will help this particular native to accumulate exactly the same way he's did it in 2020. So I'm predicting in January 2021 his net worth is $182 billion. So I'm predicting by January 2022 his net worth will be close to $250 billion or more than that. It's not possible for his net worth to go below $182 billion. That's for sure, according to my astrological predictions. I'm hoping that you will like my analysis. If you have any questions, please feel free to either send an email directly to me or post it in the YouTube channel so that I will get an email and I will respond to you very much. Thank you very much for watching my video.